It's Only Sport with Martin Devlin on The Platform. Brought to you by One New Zealand. Let's get connected.
Come on, let's be positive. Just stop right there. No negativity. Let's be positive. LBP. Let's be positive.
LBP, let's be positive for the final time on this particular program. A good old mate, Matt Gunn, former producer at Radio Sport. We've known each other for over 20 years now, mate. Just want to say thank you and appreciate everything you've done for us in the past couple of years.
Oh, not a problem at all, Marty. My pleasure. And, I enjoyed every week having a bit of a chat. And it was great catching up with you this year to renew our friendship in person. And we've seen each other a couple of years over the last 18 months, which has been nice. So brilliant. I'm wishing you all the very best as you move forward. And don't forget where I'm at.
Penrith Panthers, man, that defence, I'm still shaking my head at it. I think we saw something on Sunday night, didn't we, that was quite extraordinary for rugby league.
You know, Melbourne's been one of the great attacking teams over the years, and this year they were tremendous. But what Penrith did on Sunday night was absolutely nullify that. And all I can think about is the commitment that they've built within their own team, Penrith, to make that possible. I mean, there was a few opportunities that Melbourne had, but there were always two or more Penrith players there to shut it down. They got the early opportunistic try, when Nathan Cleary wasn't able to get to his feet near the play the ball. And, that was a good start for Melbourne. But from then on in, Penrith looked like they had them covered at all times. And, one of the impressive things about their defence wasn't just setting a defensive line. It was even the way they defended after they'd kicked on the fourth or the fifth. They'd kick deep. Pappenhausen, the fullback, or one of the wingers would get it. You'd have two or three or four Penrith players there, not competing for the ball, but shutting Melbourne down immediately within their 10, maybe within their 20 a couple of times. And Melbourne just didn't get any momentum. Penrith had so much of the ball in the first half, and Melbourne just struggled to get out of their own half. It's hard to think back to a team that's been able to commit to defence like that in such a big game. And it was a tight game. It's not like they really ran away with it. But, yeah, look, you just have to admire the game plan that they went into with. And, apart from the players, you have to say Ivan Cleary and his coaching staff, they really broke Melbourne down on Sunday night. And, they deserve their fourth title in a row.
Yeah, it was genius, wasn't it? And when you also look at the amount of points that they conceded throughout the finals, 10, 6 and 6, I mean, that's an average of 7 and a smidge a game, mate. I mean, that says everything. Okay, we're keeping you under 10 points. It's bloody difficult to win a game of rugby league when that's all you score.
Yeah. And it's not just been through the finals. They've been the best defensive team all year. They've always been hard to crack. I mean, they had a lot of injuries this year, and the main man, Cleary, was out of the game for a reasonable part of the season. But when he comes back in, he always lifts. And there wasn't a bad player in the Penrith side on Sunday night. No. I mean, you can go back and look at all the great winning sequences that teams have had over the years, and I've been watching the game for a long time, but I can't picture a better team in terms of that consistency over half a decade. I mean, it's mind-blowing. They lost that grand final in must have been 2020, but they were minor premiers that year, and then 4 in a row. Yeah, I mean, what do you say? Yeah. A tremendous crowd, some great performances, but just a gutsy game. And it was played so quickly, too, in the first half. I mean, they were almost all out on their feet within about 25 or 30 minutes. And yet neither side really opened up. But Penrith got there a couple more times than Melbourne, and that was it. I mean, they celebrate for another one. You just wonder what they possibly could do next year. I mean, I wouldn't have minded seeing Melbourne win, but on the basis of what Penrith were able to do to them, 100% worthy winners. And, if those guys aren't full of ego after this fourth one, I mean, who would be?
As a Kangaroos man, as an Aussie man, are you happy that Tedesco's been dropped? No Daly Cherry Evans, no Jake Trebojevic in that squad as well. 8 uncapped players. He swept a broom through Big Mel, didn't he?
He has swept the broom through, but we've had some players that haven't been on the top of their game over the last 5 or 6 weeks, and Tedesco being one of them. Cherry Evans played very well through the finals, I thought, but, they're not the future of the game, and I think at some point some of these guys, they just get overlooked because there's simply other young talent ready to come through. So, it's always one of those contentious talking points where, really experienced players don't continue on. But at some point, what are you going to do? I was disappointed Kalen Ponga didn't decide to play for Australia because I just find him one of the most exciting players in the game. But interestingly, he spent so much of the season injured. I can totally understand why guys like that, need to get to the end of the season because, in many ways, I think, with what we've seen with Penrith and those players, that premiership title, that grand final win, is probably worth more than playing Samoa and New Zealand. And I get that now. For me, the NRL is the pinnacle of the game. I mean, yeah, we've got State of Origin, but when you get to see players play together every week, you really do see their best. And for Newcastle, sadly for Australia, but good for Newcastle, who's another team I keep a close eye on. I think it's a good move in that sense. But I see the Warriors Player of the Year is also into the team, Martin, which is another pat on the back from him after being selected for Origin this year. So there's a positive for Warriors fans.
Aussie versus the White Ferns T20 Women's World Cup overnight. What is more chance of happening, that you lose to us or that the Bulldogs win the premiership next year?
Oh, goodness gracious. I think that we lose to the White Ferns.
There's zero chance that happens, mate. I opened the door for you to charge through and say my doggies next year.
Yeah, no. Look, listen, they're back. The Ferns are back, Martin. They've snapped a 10-match losing streak, and they've pounded India by 58 runs. I mean, if they're not charged, primed and ready to go, whenever will they be?
Look, I must say, I hope that they make the semi-finals. I do. I hope that every New Zealand sports team wins. But let's end on that. And, Mark Watson made some great points today. Since the equalities come in and the equity pay and all that kind of stuff, our two leading women's national sports teams, the White Ferns and the Black Ferns, seem to have gone backwards. And he raised a point just about, how much expectation, how much demand on performance is there? When you get handsomely paid, and these salaries are great salaries, to turn up for training, which is effectively what it is, you get flown business class all around the world, you stay in 5-star resorts, and you play half a dozen games like the Black Ferns do a year, then you play a bit of O-Picky. There is no consequence to anything about what you do. As long as that you don't disrupt the squad and become a real a-hole, you can lose games, you can play poorly, it doesn't matter. And I do wonder whether or not that factor is affecting the performance of these women's teams, that when you are in a situation in any job where you know that you have to produce and have to achieve or else there is consequence, it does change your attitude, doesn't it? I just wonder whether there is a softening of that determination and desire because it's all being a little easy at the moment. Oh, just a theory.
Well,
it's Only Sport with Martin Devlin on the platform. Brought to you by One New Zealand. Let's get connected.